So partner Marlon Humphrey spoke with the media, and he has never been referred to as tight-lipped, I think, behind a microphone, unless maybe it's after a loss or something. He was very compelling, I thought, during his first press conference of this offseason. He's been on with us. Or actually, he wasn't. He was on with us on the NFL draft a year ago, I believe it was. But he did speak with reporters yesterday, and you had a bunch of takeaways that I know I agree with you on.
Yeah, oh man, he's so goofy and funny on Twitter and social media and sometimes videos, but he's also very insightful. Like he was definitely pensive yesterday. And I feel like he's done this before. He did it in the middle of the season last year. Something similar to this, but he's doing it again, and I think this is the right time to do it. He basically wants the defense to raise its standard to become the defense of old that we're used to in Baltimore. And here he is reiterating that and wanting to make sure these up and coming young guys know what's up in Baltimore.
Did we end last year, loss of the Bills? Every window opens and every window closes as far as that championship, ability. And I feel that I'm not going to say we've underperformed, but we have underperformed. I feel that we've had championship caliber rosters. I feel that we've prepared like a championship team. And there's just been something we got to do, but I don't feel that we're far off. I think I can only speak on the defense. I feel that when I first came to the Ravens, it was all about the Ravens defense. It was all about the Ravens defense. It was all about the Ravens defense. And I feel like I've let that standard, being here, I think the longest defensive guy, I feel like I've let that standard kind of slip. And that's something that I want to get back. Obviously we love Lamar Jackson. It's a great player. But I want, the Ravens identity to be defense, like it was when I first got here. So that's something that we're chirping in our room. That's something Zio's leading the front with. We got to get the football. When I look back at, I was unaware of how elite that 2000 Ravens defense was. And when I was watching some of those playoff games, you didn't really need an offense, honestly. They were just making so many plays, turnovers. And that's the regular season is very important. But that is something that we are not doing.
Your thoughts, Bobby?
Pretty insightful. He let us in a little bit. And you're right. I think it's the perfect time to have these conversations. You're smack dab between mandatory minicamp and training camp. You're the longest tenured member of the defense. You're somebody that's experienced and endured the heartbreak, the highs and lows of this Lamar era over the last several seasons. And most importantly, you understand, and he really said as much, that you're not a defense without creating turnovers. You can be as dominant as you possibly can be, and they have been. Go back to the 2023 season. They were utterly dominant.
I got that quote coming up next. Yep.
Right. If you're not disrupting to the point where you're taking the football away and flipping momentum and shifting the arc of games, then what are you doing it for? And we've seen this, unfortunately, too often rear its ugly head in the month of January. He understands that. He's the leader of this defense. He now has a co-leader in a lot of ways in Jair Alexander based on all the football that he's seen. He's got a young buck, a couple young bucks in Nate Wiggins and Malachi Starks that he's going to be taking under his wing. I get that, Malachi is a safety, but we keep talking about, I guess the theme of the offseason is Zach Orr's positionless defense that Marlon commented on and that everybody wants to sort of implement in Baltimore. So I think he's just the man for the job. And it's a great, refreshing reminder that, as you pointed out, oftentimes the playful, silly kind of nut job, Marlon Humphrey, can be seen going viral on social media. Doesn't mean that when push comes to shove, this guy's all business. And I think he gave you a little snippet and a reminder of exactly that there.
He cracked me up in the beginning where he's like, I'm not going to say we underperformed, meaning the defense. He's like, but we underperformed. So I am going to say it actually. But I love that where he's like, listen, I know we got Lamar Jackson. I know we have Lamar Jackson, but we need to get back to being known for defense. There's no reason why those two things can't coexist. And Bobby, I almost guarantee you, me, and everybody in the chat has experienced that friend that's like a moocher that just is constantly content because you bring, so much to the table or whatever, that they're fine with just letting you do it and not pitching in, right? It's like, he or she's got it. Or maybe you're the moocher. Maybe if you're listening, you're like, hey, that's me. Like lots of times if I go on friend trips, I always like to be the one that's in the background. I don't like being the one making the plans. But then you realize, hey, even though this person likes making plans, I should probably help out because it can be stressful and a lot of work, right? You can't just sit back and let somebody else do all the work. They could all sit back and be like on defense, listen, we're not great, but Lamar's making, that kind of money. He's going to be the highest paid guy. Like he's going to bail us out. No, you have to have pride in what you do. And so he should 100% be like, I get that Lamar Jackson is the face of this franchise and we go as he goes. And at the same time, while he is creating finally an offensive identity, that doesn't mean we lose the defensive identity. Not even close. And so to your point, talking about those turnovers, he said because he has recently gotten married, and congratulations to Marlo, he said that he's, for the first time, kind of stuck around in Baltimore during the offseason rather than leaving. And so he got back into the castle and he was going over, they were reviewing what had happened to the defense throughout the season. He and most of the staff, maybe there was a few guys around, and you spoke to the turnovers. That is what he said. A lot of it's more complex, but if you're going to boil it down, that's really it. So here he is elaborating on creating turnovers.
This is my first full offseason living here. And so season ended. And for like probably a solid 2 weeks, me and some of the staff, we were trying to figure out those same answers. The very simple answer, the one that did come is the Bills had, I think, 3 turnovers. The Ravens had 0. And that right there, I think, is that's just to tell the story. The percentages, 3 turnovers are more than likely going to win the game. 2 turnovers, you're more than likely going to win the game. Even 1 turnover, you're more than likely going to win the game if the other team has 0. So that's the one thing that's pretty evident. It doesn't really matter how good you play defensively. If you can't get the football, you're not playing good enough. And so that's the biggest thing to harp on. And like I said, that's got to be our identity. That's got to be all 11 guys that's on the field. Identity, get the ball, get the ball, get the ball, get the ball. And I feel like when I first got here, once again,
I mean, we've talked about this on the show because Lamar Jackson and the offense get so much criticism for turning the ball over, which, is fair. But it's very rare for people to be like, oh, but the defense isn't matching that. They're not creating any turnover. So he's right. I mean, statistically speaking, this is why every time you go into a game, we ask what the keys are. It's almost always, turnovers. Because statistically speaking, if you win the turnover battle, you are going to win the game. It's rare for you to be able to overcome that. Okay. Maybe you can overcome 1, maybe 2, but 3, it's just too many. And so when he says he wants the Ravens defense to be part of the overall identity of the franchise again, and then specifically that identity is creating turnovers, I'm here for that. That is what they for sure need to get going in 2025.
Yeah, in fairness, like I would argue that 2 of the 3 turnovers from that Buffalo game that the Ravens coughed up were probably self-inflicted. I thought the Andrews punch out was just an exceptional play by that Bills defender, but the point remains, right? It's a disturbing trend that we've seen time and time again that is ultimately making the other phase of football's job very difficult. And that is, Lamar Jackson's offense. And then that can lead to pressing, and it's a trickle-down effect from there.
Yeah, and so obviously he finally got to give his reaction to the addition of Jair Alexander, and he was talking about how obviously Lamar wanted him to come, but kind of under the radar is Marlon and him. I think they had joint practices. They were talking about being together, but they were like, that's never going to happen. But he talks about what Jair brings to the defense, specifically the secondary, and maybe Lamar's the most happy, but Marlo might be a close second.
So before AD got hurt, obviously there was going to be a ton of a lot of flexibility. Then we had Cheeto, and it's like, wow, we can get even more flexibility. Then, you know, AD goes down. It's like we still got some spots. And then now we had Jair, and it's just, I think the options are endless. With me playing a little safety, Kyle playing that, it's, I think, I mean, even Malachi in college, he played kind of some of that nickel position. So it's going to be a fun secondary, I think. And it can be a serious matchup. You know, if there's a guy that we feel that this guy can cover this guy better, we can match him up with him. We can all pick kind of who we want. We can have 4, you know, first-round corners out there at the field. There's just so much that we can do. It's really exciting.
I like that, where it's like we got so many of us, we can just be like, hey, what do you want? Who do you want to match up against? Like, what do you do best? You know, maybe you're good against this type of wide receiver and I'm better at this type. You know what I mean? He's just like, the flexibility there will be quite nice to have. And then if Ardarius Washington is able to return by the end of the year, that'll take that flexibility to another level.
Take a look at this list right here. The tight window target rate. Next Gen Stats, of course, put this graphic together.
Yeah.
And they look at outside corners since 2018 with a minimum of 250 targets. That's the floor. 3 Ravens are on the top 5 in this list. And granted, Cheeto's the reason why Tennessee let go of Cheeto Uzie and is willing to pay 7.5 M's to go have him suit up for another team was due to health or lack thereof. The reason why Jair Alexander has the one blemish on his resume is due to health or lack thereof. Marlon Humphrey's been pretty durable aside from what he was resurgent season was 24, so 23 he just couldn't stay on the field consistently. But what we're looking at right now is the tight window target rate of the top 5 outside corners since 2018. And Marlon is 2 on this list. Jair is 4 and Cheeto is 5. The only other 2 non-Ravens are Byron Jones in Miami and Charvarius Ward in Indy. Pretty darn good company here for 3 Ravens now that are in the same secondary.
That's bananas to have all 3 of them. It's just basically saying to quarterbacks, you better not be off target. You better be pinpoint accurate because we are right here. We are right here. Yep. So look at that. 3 of the 5 are now Baltimore Ravens, which is why Marlon said a phrase that is the complete opposite of what Ozzie Newsome preached his entire time as a GM and maybe before. I don't know, Bobby. What's the phrase? Like, you can never have too many corners?
Well, I think it was that, essentially.
Yes.
And then the add-on was like, and if you feel like you're good, go get another one.
Yeah, yeah. Which is kind of what EDC did, because we were feeling pretty decent. A little nervous about whether Cheeto could do all 17 games. But Marlo, his perspective might be a little different.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I think we did kind of speak on teaming up last year. But obviously, you know, he was like, I'm here. And I was like, well, I'm probably not leaving here either. So it ended up working out. But really excited. I think a quote that's never been said and probably will never be said in NFL history is, we got too many corners that can cover. So I think that's a great problem to have, and really excited for that addition.
This freaking guy.
We got too many corners that can cover until they go down, Marlo, until they go down. But until then, you guys better compete. You got to compete for those snaps.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny. Since this Jair signing went down, Sarah, it's funny how discourse can shift so quickly. And
yes.
And of course it should shift because Jair's a star. He's proven to be a star, an all-pro caliber corner when healthy. The big if, will be, can he sustain that health this upcoming season? That remains to be seen. But what I mean by the sort of shift in conversation is we went from, and when I say we, I'm just kind of looping some of the conversations that I've seen within the Twitter sphere, within the fan base, on specific corners that they were really excited about and talking about ad nauseum really throughout OTAs, and that's TJ Tampa. And so now you're at a point where will TJ Tampa's development not necessarily be something that we're going to have a chance to see this upcoming season like so many had thought maybe prior to this edition, because now they really do have a situation where unless TJ goes out and puts on a summer that can't be ignored, I don't know if he's knocking on the door for CB3, Sarah, right now. He's going to be earning his keep through special teams, you would think. And if Awuzie drops off, perhaps he gets a chance to sort of earn his way into that rotation. I'd have to think those reps are going to be few and far between, though, for him.
Absolutely. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough if everybody's healthy, that's for sure. But as Marlon said, it's a great problem to have. Great problem to have. Let's go. Especially with two of the guys having quite the injury history. So
no doubt.